Have you ever paused for a moment, closing your eyes and sensing a quiet presence that infuses every breath you take? I remember standing at the edge of a vast meadow, feeling the breeze whisper secrets of unseen forces, guiding the growth of every blade of grass. In that stillness, I discovered that true creativity springs not from frantic effort, but from the humble act of acknowledging a source far greater than any individual mind. When you begin by inviting that infinite intelligence into every corner of your imagination, you align your inner world with a power that never tires, never doubts, and never falters. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you attempt to coax flowers to bloom by sheer force yanking seedlings into the sun, digging furiously into the soil, you may end up with trampled petals and broken roots. But when you understand that beneath the surface lies a rich network of life-giving energy, you simply create the conditions for growth. You water, you trust the sun to shine, and you let the soil do its work. In the same way, your imagination flourishes when you recognize the divine as the prime mover behind every vision. By placing that awareness at the center of your creative process, you transform your mental landscape into fertile ground for the dreams you wish to realize. To practice this principle, begin each day with a few moments of silent acknowledgement. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and turn your attention inward, offering a wordless greeting to the intelligence that orchestrates the unseen symphony of existence. You don't need elaborate formulas. Simply invite that presence to guide your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Notice how, even in the smallest decisions, choosing a path to walk, selecting an idea to explore, this awareness infuses your choices with a subtle but unmistakable confidence. You no longer push against resistance. Instead, you flow with the current that carries you forward. When it comes time to shape a specific desire, a new relationship, a creative project, a shift in health, picture yourself standing at a studio window with that infinite intelligence beside you. See the canvas of your life spread out like a landscape at dawn. As you imagine the ideal scene, every color vibrant, every form perfectly placed, sense the power behind your vision. Rather than straining to make every detail come into focus, rest in the knowledge that the one from which all creativity springs is already at work. Your task is simply to hold the image steady, to feel its reality as present, and to let that divine source animate it from behind the scenes. There will be moments when doubt tries to intrude, whispering that you must wrestle control from unseen hands. In those moments, remember the meadow and the garden, that life unfolds most gracefully when life itself is honored as the authority. Gently remind yourself that the divine does not demand abandonment of effort, but calls for a shift in perspective, seeing yourself as a partner, not a lone warrior. You still take inspired action, yet you do so from a place of receptivity. You listen for promptings. You notice the subtle yes or no that arises in your body, and you let those signals guide you. In this way, your creativity becomes a dance, not a battle. Educationally speaking, this principle can be broken down into 3 practical steps. First, daily acknowledgement through quiet reflection. Second, vivid imagination of your desired outcome while sensing the divine presence. Third, inspired action taken in harmony with inner promptings rather than out of desperation. For each step reinforces the others, building a feedback loop in which gratitude for past manifestations fuels greater trust in future unfoldings, and each act of faith becomes evidence for the next. Over time, you'll notice that ideas flow to you with remarkable ease. Solutions to problems appear as if whispered directly into your ear. Relationships shift in surprising ways, drawing to you those who resonate with your elevated vision. Projects find their momentum as if buoyed by an unseen wind. This is the hallmark of a mind aligned with its highest source. effortless creativity backed by infinite intelligence. Let us not underestimate the significance of this shift. In every age, thinkers, artists, and innovators have attributed their breakthroughs to a force beyond the personal self. Today, you stand at the same crossroads. Will you continue to muscle through challenges alone? Or will you learn to lean into the sustaining power that underlies every thriving system? By choosing to acknowledge the divine as the origin of your creative capacity, you set in motion a chain reaction of inspiration that can transform not just your own life, but the lives of all who cross your path. So now take a moment to close your eyes once more. Feel the gentle pulse of life that synced your heartbeat long before you were born. Breathe in, and as you exhale, release any remaining tension or doubt. In your mind's eye, see the vision you most desire, bright, alive, complete, and let that infinite source carry it into form. Here, in the silent partnership of your imagination and the eternal creative force, true originality is born. Welcome it, and watch how the world reshapes itself around the radiance of your aligned intention. Have you ever found yourself caught in the swirl of life's demands? Emails pinging, plans unraveling, the world around you insisting on your attention, only to pause and realize that everything shifted the moment you stopped reacting and started observing. I recall a morning when traffic snarled and deadlines loomed like dark clouds. Yet, in a single breath, I turned inward, noticed the tension in my chest, and gently chose to focus on an inner calm I'd tasted before. In that instant, the outer chaos seemed to soften, as if my attention itself was the lens through which reality sharpened or blurred. This is the power of cultivating an inner awareness that transcends outer circumstances. At its core, this principle invites you to become the impartial witness of your own thoughts and feelings. Rather than identifying with every passing idea, I am stressed, I am behind, I am overwhelmed, you learn to step back and recognize these as patterns playing across the screen of your mind. When you do this, you open a space of freedom. No longer bound by the ebb and flow of external events, you can choose where to place your mental energy. Think of it as tuning a radio dial. You might encounter static or distressing broadcasts, but when you consciously shift frequency, a clear, harmonious signal begins to emerge. To practice this skill, start by assigning yourself short intervals throughout the day. 2 minutes upon waking, 1 minute before each meeting, a pause before bed, during which you simply observe. Close your eyes if you can, or soften your gaze, and notice the quality of your thoughts. Are they racing toward deadlines, looping through worries, or drifting in pleasant fantasies? Notice without judgment, as though you were studying a flock of birds in flight. This simple act of observation builds your capacity to recognize reactive thought patterns the moment they arise, so you can decide whether to follow them or to let them pass. Once you've honed the habit of observation, the next step is gentle redirection. When you catch a thought that contradicts your highest vision, fear, self-doubt, frustration, pause and breathe. Then consciously invite a thought aligned with the divine source of creativity. You might silently affirm, "I am guided," or picture a calm sea under a bright sky. The key is not to force yourself into a rigid mantra, but to allow your imagination to offer a scene or phrase that feels uplifting. In time, this redirection becomes intuitive. You will find yourself slipping back into harmony almost automatically, dissolving resistance before it solidifies into stress or inaction. Sustaining this inner awareness throughout a busy day requires anchors, small rituals that reconnect you to that spacious observer. It could be pausing to feel the texture of your clothing, listening to the hum of a nearby machine, or simply placing a hand over your heart to feel your pulse. Each anchor shifts your attention from the external to the internal, reminding you that no matter how turbulent the outer world becomes, you possess a still point within. From that still point, you can engage with reality consciously, choosing responses that reflect your true intention rather than knee-jerk reactions to perceived pressure. In practical terms, this practice transforms how you navigate challenges. When a difficult conversation arises, you'll find yourself listening more deeply, guided by inner promptings rather than defensive reflexes. When a problem seems unsolvable, a moment of quiet awareness may reveal an unexpected solution, as if insight were fed through a hidden channel. Projects that once felt burdensome take on the sheen of inspired collaboration when you invite the divine into your vision. Relationships deepen when you respond from presence instead of projection, and stress dissolves because you have learned to witness it rather than to be swept away by it. As you continue, you'll notice a subtle yet profound shift. The outer world begins to mirror your inner landscape. That deadline met with calm assurance, that conversation that resolves itself effortlessly, the stream of small synchronicities, all point back to the simple act of cultivating inner awareness. It is not about escaping reality, but about engaging more fully, armed with the clarity and composure that arise when you know you are always more than the momentary drama unfolding around you. In this way, your consciousness becomes a creative instrument, finely tuned to the harmonies of a deeper intelligence, and every circumstance becomes a canvas for conscious expression. Have you ever closed your eyes and watched a simple thought blossom into a living scene, so vivid that you could almost taste the air and feel the warmth of the sun upon your skin? I remember a time when I sat beside a quiet lake at dawn, picturing myself stepping into a new chapter of my life, a chapter brimming with possibility, joy, and fulfillment. As I formed each detail in my mind's eye, I sensed an invisible hand shaping those images, as if my imagination had become a sacred studio where the human and the divine converge to co-create reality. When you regard your imagination as a holy workshop, you grant it permission to do the very work it was designed for, to forge ideas into substance. Too often we relegate imagination to daydreaming or idle fancy, dismissing it as mere escapism. Yet the moment you recognize that every invention, every work of art, every shift in personal circumstance began first as a spark within someone's inner world, you elevate imagination to its rightful place. It becomes the meeting ground where your deepest longings meet an infinite creative intelligence that stands ready to give them form. To cultivate this sacred workshop, begin by setting aside dedicated time each day solely for imaginative practice. Find a quiet spot, free from distraction, and allow your mind to wander toward your heart's desire. Visualize not only the broad strokes, the career breakthrough, the loving relationship, the flourishing health, but the tiniest nuances as well. The tiniest nuances as well. The precise sensation of gratitude swelling within you. By attending to these details, you signal to the universe that you are serious about your creation, that you are partnering with something far greater than mere willpower. As you build this practice, notice the subtle interplay between belief and image. A half-hearted visualization flickers and fizzles. It lacks the emotional charge needed to electrify the creative process. But when you infuse your mental pictures with feeling, when you truly sense the delight of achievement, the relief of resolution, the warmth of love, you bridge the gap between thought and reality. This feeling is the secret ingredient that imbues your imagination with its catalytic power, transforming static pictures into living embryos of future experience. In the heart of this workshop lies a principle both simple and profound. You are not alone in your creative effort. The moment you imagine a scene as already fulfilled, you invite a sustaining intelligence to carry it forward. It is as if you place an order in the unseen realm, and the divine supply chain immediately begins its silent circulation. Rather than wrestling with the how or doubting the possibility, your task is to remain faithful to the vision, knowing that the logistics of manifestation belong to a domain far beyond your limited perspective. Practical application of this principle often reveals itself in synchronicities and intuitive nudges. You may find a chance meeting that accelerates your plans, or an idea emerging in conversation that perfectly solves a problem you've been wrestling with. Instead of attributing these moments to coincidence, recognize them as the handiwork of your sacred workshop. Each insight is a reminder that your imagination has cast a line into the depths of possibility and reeled back the precise resources needed to bring your vision into form. To deepen your mastery, keep a journal of your imaginative sessions. Record not only the images you hold, but also the emotions and bodily sensations that accompany them. Note any subtle shifts in mood, unexpected inspirations, or real-world events that seem to echo your inner creations. Over time, you'll see a pattern. The clearer and more feeling-laden your imagination, the more swiftly and seamlessly the outer circumstances align. This journal becomes an empirical record of imagination's efficacy, reinforcing your faith in its sacred role. Remember, too, that imagination need not be confined to positive events alone. It can serve as a workshop for healing past wounds, revising memories, and reshaping your personal narrative. By reimagining a painful encounter as one in which you stood confident and unshaken, you alter the blueprint that informs your current reality. This act of revision liberates you from old patterns and paves the way for new expressions of well-being. As you practice, guard yourself against the temptation to peek ahead with doubt. Just as an artist does not tear at a canvas to see if paint has dried, so should you refrain from inspecting external evidence prematurely. Your workshop operates best in the unseen. Trust the process. Tend your metal garden with patience, and resist the urge to uproot seedlings before they have had time to sprout. Through this continual engagement with your imagination as a sacred workshop, you will awaken to a deeper truth, that creation is not a solo endeavor but a partnership. You provide the spark of intention. The divine furnishes the substance of realization. This collaboration transcends the limitations of time and space, weaving together the threads of your inner vision with the tapestry of the world around you. So now, as you move through your day, carry this awareness in your heart. Whether you stand at a crowded bus stop or sit in a bustling cafe, let your mind's eye gently unfurl the scene of your fulfilled desire. Feel it as real. Smell it, taste it, hear it, live it. In that moment, you step into the workshop, pick up the tools of imagination, and resume the sacred work of bringing heaven to earth. Have you ever felt the weight of the world pressing on your shoulders, as though every worry and fear was a boulder you carried with each step? I remember a morning when the day's demands seemed to crowd in from every direction. Emails stacking up like restless messages, appointments multiplying like unwelcome guests, and an inner voice whispering that I would never catch up. In that moment, instead of reaching for another coffee or digging deeper into frantic planning, I closed my eyes and pictured myself extending open hands toward a calm, benevolent presence. Without striving or pleading, I simply released those burdens into that gentle space. And in that letting go, I discovered the power of true surrender. True surrender differs profoundly from resignation. Resignation says, I cannot, and locks you in a cell of helplessness. Surrender, by contrast, is a conscious decision to hand over your anxieties to the one who orchestrates every unseen detail, trusting that what you release will be met with wisdom beyond your own. It is not abandoning effort, but redirecting effort, shifting from frenzied struggle to deliberate partnership. In surrender, you step out of the cycle of push and pull and place your confidence in a source that never tires or doubts. This shift transforms fear into freedom, because you no longer bear the entire burden of creation yourself. To practice this art, begin each morning with the simple ritual of release. Before you rise from bed, lie still and name silently any concerns crowding your mind: finances, relationships, health, or work. As each worry arises, imagine placing it into an unseen vessel held by a steady, compassionate presence. You don't need to explain or negotiate, simply entrust it. And then feel a gentle lightness as that presence absorbs what you relinquish. This act, repeated day after day, trains your inner awareness to recognize surrender as a first response rather than a last resort. Over time, you'll notice your mind unburdening itself naturally, creating space for clarity and inspired insight. Surrender also flourishes within the workshop of your imagination. When a particular desire or challenge arises, close your eyes and picture yourself at the threshold of a vast hall. On one side lie the anxious scenarios you rehearse so often. On the other stands a calm doorway leading into the unknown realm of possibility. Visualize stepping away from the cluttered anxieties and passing through that serene portal, leaving every what-if behind. Beyond that doorway, see the outcome you wish to realize, vivid, complete, and suffused with light. As you stand in that scene, sense that the divine energy you've summoned will now carry the vision forward, layering each detail into place without your forced intervention. In the day-to-day flow of life, situations will test your resolve to surrender. A sudden conflict, an unexpected delay, or a critical voice within may provoke the urge to seize control. In those moments, pause and take a breath. Feel how tension knots in your shoulders and how your heart tugs you toward reaction. Then, gently remind yourself of your true partnership. You have already entrusted this matter to an unshakable source. Allow your body to soften and your mind to recenter. From this grounded state, you can still take action, but now guided by inner peace instead of frantic pressure. Decisions made in this spirit carry the imprint of trust and therefore yield far more lasting, harmonious results. Journaling deepens this practice. Each evening, write down moments when you surrendered and the outcomes that followed. Note how an argument cooled unexpectedly, how a solution emerged without forced effort, or how a quiet confidence replaced earlier anxiety. Recording these instances provides empirical evidence of surrender's efficacy, reinforcing your faith and encouraging you to lean into the practice more readily. When doubt creeps back, revisit your journal and let those entries remind you that you are not imagining effectiveness. You are witnessing a pattern of cooperation between your willing heart and an infinite intelligence. Educationally speaking, surrender can be broken into three practical phases: awareness of tension, conscious release of tension, and receptive action. First, monitor your body and mind for signals of stress: tight jaw, racing thoughts, shallow breath. Second, use imagery or a simple verbal cue, "I release this now," to hand the stress over. Third, wait for the subtle inner prompt, a new idea, a calm assurance, a shift in energy before taking your next step. Each phase builds the neural pathways of collaboration rather than combat, rewiring your habitual response from panic to partnership. As you cultivate surrender, you'll discover that it frees a remarkable creativity within you. The space created by release becomes a canvas on which intuition paints solutions, and what once felt like chaos transforms into a tapestry of order. You'll notice that doors open, help appears from unexpected quarters, and the timing of events aligns with a harmony you could never have orchestrated alone. This is the living proof that surrender is not weakness but the ultimate expression of strength, the courage to trust that the unseen hand guiding you is more capable than any personal effort could ever be. Have you ever whispered a secret wish to the quiet of your own heart and felt it resonate as though it had already been heard? I recall a night when sleep eluded me, and rather than tossing in restless thought, I gently imagined the very outcome I longed for. Vivid, complete, and already mine. In that moment I discovered that the act of imagining with conviction is itself a form of prayer, a direct line to the creative intelligence that orchestrates every unseen detail of existence. Imagine prayer not as repetition of words, but as the artful shaping of inner scenes. As you hold a desired reality in your mind's eye and infuse it with emotion, you speak to the heart of the divine in a language it cannot ignore. Conventional petitions beg for change. Vivid imaginings declare fulfillment. This shift from asking if or when to living as though the vision is present transforms passive hope into active creation. You become both artist and devotee, painting your future with strokes of belief. To practice this, choose a single, clear intention and devote a few minutes each day to its imaginative prayer. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and picture the scene as though emerging on a movie screen, the exact place, the people involved, the sensations that define it. Hear the laughter, feel the breeze on your skin, taste the sweetness of success or the warmth of love. As each detail coalesces, breathe deeply and allow gratitude to swell in your chest as if you are thanking the universe for what has already arrived. Feeling is the fuel that powers this process. A cold, clinical visualization lacks the emotional charge needed to move ideas from thought to form. But when you breathe life into your mental picture with genuine feeling, joy, relief, satisfaction, or wonder, you magnetize your imagination, drawing the unseen into the scene. This is not mere daydreaming. It is a disciplined, heart-led practice that harnesses your capacity to experience inner states and broadcast them into the outer world. In daily life, these imaginative prayers can be woven into ordinary moments. While waiting for water to boil or commuting to work, let your mind drift toward the scene you've chosen. See it unfold in slow motion, each element crisp and alive. As you move through the world in this elevated state, notice how encounters and opportunities begin to align. A chance conversation may bring new resources. A sudden insight may illuminate a previously blocked path. These are the echoes of your inner petition, finding resonance in reality. Journaling deepens the impact of imaginative prayer. After each session, write down the images you held, the feelings you experienced, and any synchronicities that followed. Over time, patterns emerge, an invisible thread connecting your inner world to outer events. This record serves as proof that your mind's declarations are heard and answered. When doubt creeps in, you can return to these pages and remember, you have felt the fulfillment before you saw it, and then seen it manifest. Language plays a subtle role in this practice. Rather than framing your vision with tentative words, I hope, I want, I wish, speak as though your intention already exists. I am, I feel, I see. This shift in tense communicates certainty. Your imagination is not a place of speculation, but the workshop of reality, where prayer and creation merge. Each affirmative phrase is like a key unlocking doors in the unseen realm, allowing the substance of your desire to flow through. Stories of real-life transformation illustrate this principle. A student visualized perfect exam scores with such clarity that disruptive doubts fell away and grades soared. An entrepreneur pictured a thriving launch in intimate detail and found investors seemingly overnight. A woman rehearsed her dream conversation with confidence and then experienced it nearly word for word. In every case, imaginative prayer did not bypass effort. It enriched it, guiding each person's actions with a clear blueprint and bolstering faith when challenges arose. As you continue, guard against the temptation to check the external evidence too soon. Peeking for signs can rupture the delicate atmosphere of belief you've created. Instead, return your focus to the inner scene, reaffirming its reality through feeling. Let your imagination carry the weight of proof until the substance of that vision stands before you. This patient insistence fuels a momentum that sweeps aside obstacles, because the force of an undisturbed assumption is more powerful than any logical argument against it. In essence, imaginative prayer is an invitation. By seeing with feeling, you call the unseen into form. You become both petitioner and partner, aligning your personal will with a vast intelligence that delights in your creative participation. There is no separation between spiritual practice and practical achievement. They are two names for the same process. As you master this art, you will find yourself living in a sacred state of co-creation, where vision and reality are threads woven from the same cloth. Now, whenever you sense a longing or an aspiration stirring within, pause for a breath and let your mind's eye paint the completed picture. Feel it as already done and hold that state with unwavering conviction. In that simple, heartfelt act, prayer transforms from plea into power, and your life becomes a testament to the profound alchemy of imagination. Have you ever noticed how a single moment of genuine gratitude can shift the entire atmosphere around you, as if the world itself leans in to answer your unspoken thank you? I remember a morning when, before even rising, I paused to whisper my gratitude for every unseen blessing I believed was on its way. An encouraging word I would receive, a solution to a lingering challenge, a heart-opening connection. As I spoke those words of thanks, I felt my entire being lighten, as though I had unlocked a hidden channel through which abundance could flow freely. In that instant, I understood that sustaining an inner dialogue of gratitude for blessings yet unseen is not mere wishful thinking. It is a profound technique for harmonizing your inner frequency with the limitless intelligence that shapes reality. Imagine your mind as a radio tuner. When you focus on doubts, fears, or unmet needs, you lock into a static-filled frequency where scarcity feels all too real. But when you consciously tune into gratitude, giving thanks for the good you know is coming, you broadcast on a clear station where abundance resonates. This isn't about ignoring challenges. It's about shifting your attention from lack to the promise of fulfillment. Each time you say, "I am grateful for the perfect solution already finding its way to me," you align your vibration with the energy of that solution. In educational terms, gratitude functions as both signal and amplifier, strengthening neural pathways that orient you toward noticing opportunities, receiving guidance, and acting from a place of confidence rather than desperation. To practice this principle, begin a gratitude journal dedicated solely to future blessings. Each morning, write down 3 things you haven't yet experienced but deeply desire, phrased as though they are already unfolding. "I am grateful for the unexpected call that brings clarity," or "I am thankful for the doors opening to new collaborations." The act of writing, especially in the present tense, cements these assumptions in your subconscious mind. Scientific studies on neuroplasticity show that repeatedly visualizing and emotionally experiencing a scenario rewires your brain to treat it as reality, making you more likely to recognize aligning circumstances when they arise. Throughout your day, weave gratitude into ordinary moments. When you wait at a red light, mentally thank the universe for the green light that's already on its way. As you sip your morning tea, feel gratitude for the perfect words that will come to you in your next conversation. In the midst of a hectic schedule, pause to express thanks for the calm solution emerging behind the scenes. These mini practices act like positive feedback loops. Each spark of gratitude amplifies your frequency, inviting more reasons to feel grateful. Over time, this transforms your baseline mindset from one of anxious getting to open-hearted receiving. You'll find that sustaining gratitude changes not only what happens to you, but how you perceive what happens. Challenges become invitations to trust, setbacks become springboards for creativity, and waiting becomes fertile ground for anticipation. For instance, someone pursuing a career goal might feel frustrated by delays, but by giving thanks for the connections being woven invisibly, they foster patience and optimism. That optimism, in turn, fuels inspired actions, sending the right email at just the right moment, or speaking up with renewed confidence that bring the goal closer to fruition. In this way, gratitude is both the soil in which your dreams take root and the sunlight that encourages their growth. Moreover, gratitude for unseen blessings cultivates humility and trust, qualities essential for co-creation. When you thank the infinite intelligence for orchestrating events beyond your control, you acknowledge a power greater than your own will. This acknowledgement eases the burden of having to make things happen and replaces it with a joyful partnership. Psychologically, this relieves the stress of self-reliance and opens you to guidance. You begin to notice subtle nudges, synchronicities, and intuitive hits that point you toward your next step. These are the footprints of your gratitude practice, guiding you along a path you might never have plotted on your own. Educationally, we can break this practice into 3 steps. First, daily assertion of gratitude for specific future events, written and felt in the present tense. Second, micro moments of thanks woven into everyday activities to reinforce your alignment. Third, reflective acknowledgement of evidence, no matter how small, that your gratitude is being answered, which strengthens your faith and encourages continued practice. Together, these steps form a resilient framework, training your mind to dwell in anticipation rather than anxiety, and to recognize that every thank you resonates through the fabric of your reality. Real-world testimonies abound. An entrepreneur plagued by frustration over slow sales began each day by thanking the universe for the ideal customers already on their way. Within weeks, inquiries doubled as if by magic. A student overwhelmed by exam fears wrote daily gratitude notes for the clarity and confidence that were theirs, and then found themselves recalling facts with ease on test day. Even small shifts, thanking the universe for a timely traffic break or a serendipitous compliment. Build your muscle of recognition so that gratitude becomes your default state rather than an occasional practice. As your practice deepens, you'll notice gratitude effortlessly bubbling up, even before you consciously call it forth. The world will seem richer, opportunities more apparent, and your inner spirit lighter. This is gratitude's alchemy. It turns what you have into enough and then into more, until the unseen becomes seen and the promise of abundance is no longer a distant hope, but a lived reality. So whenever you sense doubt or scarcity creeping in, pause, breathe, and speak a word of thanks for the good that is already forming in your life. In that simple act of gratitude, you harmonize with the abundance that pervades the universe, and in doing so, you become a magnet for all the blessings awaiting your welcome. Have you ever walked into a room brimming with possibilities, yet felt every step weighed down by unseen resistance? Until a single moment of unshakable conviction changed everything. I remember standing before an audition panel, my palms damp and my heart racing, convinced that my voice would falter and my dreams slip through my fingers. In that instant, I closed my eyes, whispered within, "This audition is already perfect," and carried that conviction like a lantern into the room. Almost immediately, my voice found its clarity, my nerves settled into a steady rhythm, and what I had assumed as done began to unfold in reality. Faith, when truly embraced, becomes the seed from which all visible form springs. It is not idle wishing, but an active state of mind, a firm knowing that precedes proof. In the realm of creative living, faith acts like a magnetic force field around your intention, attracting the people, resources, and circumstances needed to give it shape. When you go about your day with unwavering conviction that every step you take is guided by divine intelligence, you cultivate an invisible soil rich with possibilities. This soil, nourished by your belief, will germinate ideas into actions, and actions into tangible results. To practice this principle, begin by anchoring your awareness in a simple affirmation that resonates deeply. Choose a phrase such as, "I trust this moment to lead me to my highest good," or "Every step I take is supported by infinite wisdom." Speak it aloud each morning, letting the words reverberate in your chest until they feel more real than any worry. As you carry this affirmation into your daily tasks, sending emails, driving to appointments, engaging in conversations, you infuse every action with the lifeblood of faith. Slowly, you will notice that your experience aligns more consistently with your inner conviction than with your past patterns of doubt. Maintaining faith throughout the day requires active engagement. Whenever a situation arises, an unexpected delay, a challenging decision, a sudden setback, pause and consciously remind yourself of your guiding affirmation. Breathe deeply, feel the solidity of your trust, and then proceed with your next move from that space of assurance. Over time, this practice trains your mind to default to faith rather than fear, so that even in the face of apparent obstacles, your inner compass remains fixed on the reality you intend to manifest. Of course, doubt will sometimes creep in, whispering that you might be mistaken or that you must take definitive control. When that voice surfaces, greet it without judgment. Acknowledge its presence. I see you, doubt, but I choose to stay grounded in faith. And then return your focus to the feeling of certainty you cultivated. Imagine doubt as a passing cloud and faith as the clear sky beyond. By refusing to engage in mental tug-of-war, you preserve your energy for creation rather than depletion. Each time you withstand the urge to react with fear, you reinforce the neural pathways of trust, making faith your natural state. Evidence of faith's power often appears in subtle, synchronistic ways. You might find the exact information you need in an unlikely book, receive a helpful message just when you need reassurance, or meet someone who unexpectedly offers assistance. Rather than dismissing these encounters as coincidence, learn to see them as the universe's response to your inner conviction. Keep a small notebook to record these moments. An email from a potential partner, a phone call that arrives with perfect timing, a new idea that springs fully formed into your mind. Reviewing these entries regularly will remind you that faith truly does birth form. Integrating this practice into your life also involves cultivating patience. Just as a farmer trusts the cycle of seasons without digging up seedlings to check their roots, you must allow your intentions the time and space to mature unseen. Avoid peering too eagerly for results. If you find yourself fixating on what has yet to appear, gently redirect your attention to the conviction that your desire is already in motion. Return to your affirmation, breathe into the sensation of trust, and carry on with your day. In doing so, you honor the unseen timeline and let faith's momentum carry your vision forward. Educationally, you can break this process into 3 steps. First, a daily declaration of trust through a chosen affirmation. Second, conscious reinforcement of that trust whenever doubt or challenge arises. Third, mindful recognition and recording of synchronistic evidence as feedback. Each step supports the next, creating a self-sustaining cycle in which faith begets action, action begets evidence, and evidence strengthens faith. Over time, you'll move from hoping that faith will work to knowing that faith is already working. As you deepen this practice, notice how your entire experience begins to shift. Tasks that once felt burdensome carry an undercurrent of ease. Conversations flow with unexpected clarity, and obstacles resolve themselves as if guided by an invisible hand. You'll find yourself living in a state of creative partnership, where each moment reflects the harmony between your inner conviction and the world around you. In this partnership, faith is not a lofty ideal, but a practical tool, your ever-present companion on the path from imagination to reality. Let faith be the fertile ground beneath every intention you plant, and watch as form rises naturally from the invisible depths of your belief. Have you ever stood at a crossroads in life, your mind spinning with uncertainty, and yet felt a quiet whisper assuring you that you were never truly alone? I remember a damp autumn evening when every plan I'd made seemed to dissolve in the rain, leaving me exposed to my own doubts. Instead of surrendering to fear, I closed my eyes and simply acknowledged an inner presence beside me, an unspoken collaborator in every choice. In that instant, I discovered the art of anchoring my consciousness in divine partnership, a practice that reshaped not only that moment, but every step thereafter. When you anchor your awareness in the assumption of partnership with the creative intelligence of the universe, you shift from a lone struggler to a willing participant in a grand design. Rather than shouldering every burden or wrestling with each obstacle, you extend an open hand toward that unseen ally, trusting that it will amplify your intentions and guide your action. So this is not passive resignation. It is an active collaboration in which your imagination and faith become the instruments through which infinite resources flow. By choosing to believe in that partnership first, before seeing any outer evidence, you set the stage for miracles to unfold. To cultivate this principle, begin with a simple morning ritual. Before the day's demands pull you outward, close your eyes for just a moment and breathe deeply. Silently affirm that you and the divine are aligned in purpose. That every decision you face will be met with insight drawn from a wellspring beyond your own mind. Feel the subtle shift in your heartbeat as you make this declaration. This practice need not be lengthy. Even a few seconds of genuine acknowledgement will rewire your expectations and prime your subconscious to notice guidance throughout the hours ahead. As you move through daily life, you will find that decisions once fraught with anxiety become invitations to listen inward. Suppose you face a challenging conversation at work. Instead of rehearsing every line in your head, pause and sense the presence guiding you. Ask, even if silently, how might I serve this situation most wisely? Then carry the question forward, trusting that the answer will arise through intuition, a chance remark from a colleague, or an unexpected download of clarity. In this way, every interaction transforms into a co-creative exchange rather than a trial of wills. Mindful anchors help reinforce this partnership throughout the day. It might be a brief self-inquiry at midday, placing a hand on your heart and remembering your morning affirmation, or a conscious exhale of tension at the close of a meeting, releasing any remnants of stress into that unseen ally. These brief pauses act like signposts, reminding you that the power sustaining your creative endeavors operates just beneath the surface of experience. By weaving these anchors into ordinary moments, waiting at a traffic light, washing dishes, or standing in line, you maintain a living connection to the source of all inspiration. Perhaps the most profound evidence of this practice appears as synchronicity, a helpful voice at just the right time, a resource materializing when you need it most, or a path opening that you never could have engineered alone. Rather than dismissing these events as coincidence, recognize them as the footprints of divine partnership. Keep a small notebook or digital list of these coincidences, noting the inner question you held and the external response that followed. Over time, you'll build an empirical record, showing how assumption shapes reality, reinforcing your faith in the practice itself. Educationally, the principle can be distilled into 3 interlocking steps. First, assume the partnership by daily acknowledgement. Declare your intention to co-create with an infinite intelligence. Second, apply this assumption by consulting your inner guidance before action. Listen for that subtle nudge or clarifying thought. Third, recognize and record the synchronistic responses that follow, evidence that your assumption is bearing fruit. Each step reinforces the next, creating a feedback loop in which trust begets clarity, clarity begets inspired action, and action begets tangible results. Over time, anchoring your consciousness in this living partnership becomes second nature. You'll find yourself less prone to frantic pushing or anxious planning, and more inclined to move with the flow of ideas and opportunities that align with your deepest intentions. Challenges cease to feel like dead ends. Instead, they become prompts to realign your awareness and tap into the well of support always available to you. In this way, every facet of your life becomes a canvas for conscious creation. In the moment you put divine partnership first, you unlock the latent power within your own imagination. Allow this practice to guide your next venture, big or small, with the confidence that your efforts are buoyed by an intelligence far greater than any solitary mind. As you walk forward, let each step echo with the silent assurance that you are never alone, that every vision you hold is met with unseen hands weaving the threads of reality. In that sacred collaboration, you become both the artist and the canvas, painting your world from the inside out. And now, having explored the 8 keys to placing the divine at the center of your creative life, you stand at the threshold of transformation. You've learned to invite infinite intelligence into every corner of your imagination, to become the impartial witness of your thoughts rather than their captive, and to see your mind as a sacred workshop where vision and form converge. You've discovered the freedom born of genuine surrender, the potency of imagining with the conviction of prayer, and the harmonizing power of gratitude for blessings yet unseen. You've embraced faith as an active knowing that precedes proof, and you've anchored your consciousness in the living partnership between your heartfelt intention and the unseen force that sustains all. Carry these principles with you as daily companions. Let your morning reflections set the tone for creative alignment. Weave gratitude and inner listening into ordinary moments, and trust that every inspired action resonates with a harmony beyond your solo effort. When doubt or distraction arises, return to the still point within where your true strength resides, and let your vision, feeling, and faith guide you forward. In this way, you will find that life unfolds not as a series of random events, but as a tapestry, woven by your own aligned consciousness and the boundless creativity it summons. Each day becomes an invitation to co-create miracles, step by confident step.